Tuning into Sci-Fi TV, the viewer's guide to genre television for the week of July 4th to July 10th, 2015.
How did this happen? Where did it go? It should have been there last week's episode. I thought I was set up with my season pass. Now the new show is out, and I don't know what happened last week. How did my TiVo forget?
Hi, everyone. I'm Kevin Batchelder.
I'm Wendy Hembrock.
And that makes me Brent Barrett.
Catch up on the poll we've been running for a little while. This will be closed down now at this point. But this was the one where we asked you about the group of Sci-Fi Friday shows and which ones you're enjoying or plan to enjoy. You know, voting on individual ones or groups of them as far as your faves. And final winner, not surprising, but in a totally good way, is all three of them. 38% of the vote. You folks are enjoying all three with just Defiance and Dark Matter. Second place at 15%, and then various combos down the line from there.
Yeah, they're all pretty strong, though, so I was happy to see that the vast majority of folks are enjoying all three.
Yeah, I'm really glad to see that there's enjoyment and that none of them is fairly low.
Yes.
Yes, excellent. By the time you're listening to this podcast, we should have a new poll up for you, so please come by the website to vote on that one. And also, we recently announced a new contest. I think many of you are going to be interested in this, and that is a chance now to win a gift card for Netflix. So whether you're a current user and want to reduce your cost, or you're someone who's been thinking about it, this is a great prize, folks. A lot of flexibility there for you. But as always, listen for the code phrase somewhere later in the water cooler and get your entry in sometime here in July.
Yep, nothing starts the fall off like a Netflix subscription.
And that code phrase is from one of the wonderful Netflix original series that we hope you will enjoy.
There we go. Alrighty, let's get ready to move over to our water cooler.
Hi, I'm Nuke Chas, the host of Nutty Bites.
And hi, I'm Tech, Nutty's regular guest.
Or antagonist. Our podcast is like a call-in show where geeks get to debate topics about speculative fiction.
We don't really debate.
Sure we do. We debate topics such as lame superpowers, the best villains, and our favorite apocalypses.
We're more like rant, rave, and then have massive nerd rages.
People call in from all over the world, sometimes minor celebrities, and we've even had some supervillains show up.
Do you ever notice that you never have any superheroes or good guys?
I'm a good guy.
Compared to what?
Antagonist, not really a guest. Nutty Bites, nimlast.org.
First in the water cooler, as usual, our ratings for the shows that were on this week. We've got the ratings of Watch It Now, Watch It Soon, Let It Sit, or completely skip it, and variations in between there. Up first, on the 4th of July, we have the Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. First season, 4th episode, All the Mirrors of the World. Not a show I watch.
I would say low Watch It Now.
I'm going to go high Watch It Soon, but it was pretty good.
Excellent. Moving over to the 5th of July. First up, Beauty and the Beast, Season 3, Episode 5, The Most Dangerous Beast. Not on my viewing schedule, though.
Low Watch It Sometime.
Yeah, I've still got it on my DVR collecting for watching sometime.
Alrighty. Next, we move to Falling Skies. Final season, season number 5, second episode, Hunger Pains. Not one I'm watching.
Oh, this was pretty good. I would say watch it soon.
Yeah, it continues to be surprisingly good. I'm waiting for it to fail, like it usually does, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
I'd say watch it soon.
Hoping it goes out strong, then. All right, we also have the new show, Humans. It's his first season. The second episode, they don't appear to have titles, so just basically 1.2. I would say maybe middle ground to lower watch it soon for me.
Oh, I really like this. I would give it a strong watch it soon.
Yeah, and I'm going to go even higher, low watch it now. It was awesome.
Yeah, I almost was there.
All righty. Definitely other folks are enjoying it more than me. I'm feeling lonely. All right, next we move to Penny Dreadful. This was the second season finale, so season 2, episode number 10. And they were enemies. Very well done. I'd give it a low watch it now.
I would give it a regular watch it now.
Yeah, I'm with Wendy. Regular watch it now.
And our final Sunday show would be The Last Ship, season 2, episode number 4, Solace. I greatly enjoyed it. I would say high watch it soon.
I agree. Strong watch it soon.
That's all three of us. High end watch it soon.
Next we move to Monday the 6th. We have Teen Wolf, season 5, episode number 3, Dream Catchers. Definitely for me the highlight of the week. I'd give this one a watch it now.
I can't go there. I would say strong watch it soon.
I'm just going to go regular watch it soon.
Alrighty, moving to Tuesday the 7th, we have Proof, Season 1, Episode number 4, Redemption. Not one that I watch.
I'm not watching this either.
It was a pretty good episode. I'd say watch it soon.
We also on Tuesday have Scream, second episode of its first season. Hello, Emma. Not one I'm watching.
I'm not watching this either.
Yeah, I am watching this, strangely enough, since I'm not really into horror, but we didn't rate it last week. I would give the first episode a watch it soon. This one only a watch it soon low end.
Alrighty, and our other Tuesday show would be Stitchers, Season 1, Episode number 6, finally. And I'm still digging the show, and if for nothing else than the Buckaroo Banzai call-out in this episode, I'd give it a solid watch it soon.
I'm not watching this.
I'd give it a low watch it soon.
Alright, moving to Wednesday the 8th, Extant, Season 2, Episode number 2, Morphosis. Not a show I watched, though.
Oh, I didn't watch this one.
I'd also give this one a low end watch it soon.
Alrighty, moving to Thursday the 9th, Wayward Pines, Season 1, Episode number 8, The Friendliest Place on Earth. Haven't got to it yet, still on the DVR.
I would say low watch it soon.
Yeah, and the fourth low end watch it soon in a row for me.
Alright, moving to Fridays, those Sci-Fi Fridays that we're talking about in our poll. First up, we've got Dark Matter, Season number 1, Episode number 5, just 1.5 from a title point of view. I would give it a watch it soon.
Oh, I would give it a strong watch it soon.
Dark Matter I'd give just a watch it soon.
Alrighty, also on Friday, Defiance, Season 3, Episode number 6, Where the Apples Fell. Very strong episode. I'd probably go very high watch it soon.
Oh, I would give it a low watch it now.
Yeah, I agree. Low watch it now.
And the final of the Friday shows, Killjoys, Season 1, Episode number 4, Vessel. A lot of fun. I'd say a high watch it soon for me.
Yeah, strong watch it soon.
Yeah, a little too cliche for me in some areas. I'd just say watch it soon.
Alright, moving to a couple of streaming shows. We're watching Sense8, up to Episode number 5 of its first season. Art is Like Religion. Haven't gotten to it yet myself, though.
I'm not watching this.
Some really good bits in here. I'd say low end watch it soon.
And also we've got Daredevil. We finished off the series this week, so that's the 13th episode of its first season, and it was also the episode itself was titled Daredevil. I'd give it a low watch it now.
I would give it a regular watch it now.
Yeah, finally Kevin has caught up to us. I'd also give it a regular watch it now.
All right, I think we'll be talking about that more later on. And we've also got our watch or rewatch for Brent, The Almighty Johnsons, Season number 3, Episode number 5, Unleash the Kraken. I'd give it a very solid, maybe upper watch it soon.
I would give it even a low watch it now.
I rated this many moons ago, so go look it up.
You liked it too.
Yeah.
I'm sure I did.
All right, we're in the middle, for those of you who may not be aware, of San Diego Comic-Con week, so we have got a ton of news items, and there'll be a lot more covered in the last call this week too, folks. So keep in mind we had a lot to include, and we're recording actually in the middle of Saturday, so there's probably a lot more news that'll come out after we record that won't be here. So keep that in mind if you're wondering why we may or may not have covered something that you caught in your news items. First item that came out this week to mention was great to see that Teen Wolf got a renewal from MTV. No details on number of episodes yet, but nice early in the season to already know we got another season coming.
Yeah, I was a little surprised at how quickly it got renewed, but not surprised that it did get renewed.
Yeah, it's good news. And Kevin, to your comment about Comic-Con, I'm sure that people are probably screaming at us right now. Why aren't you leading with the fact that they brought Firefly back? They announced that on Sunday.
Well, the Supernatural's been reviewed for 8 more seasons.
Yeah, you folks will have to let us know about some of those cool things. And next up, Wendy's got some great stuff to share for that X-Files revival.
Yeah, Fox has a very tiny teaser. Maybe you call it a mini teaser. Because the first part of the teaser, which I think the whole thing's about 30 seconds, the first 25 seconds are a series of montages from the original show. And the very end, which is probably maybe 3 seconds, is new footage. And I won't spoil anything, but I bet you could guess what Mulder and Scully are doing and what they might be holding in the teaser.
All I know is I'm not a huge X-Files fan. I enjoyed the show. Not as big as maybe you two. But I got kind of goosebumps seeing that final few seconds. And I loved how in just those few seconds, I could see that those two actors were back in those two characters. I mean, you have to see it to know what I mean, but it was just really great.
Yeah, as you said, it's only a few seconds of new stuff, but the fact that it is old stuff and new stuff all together to get the little hairs in the back of the neck standing up for the cool factor was great. Great to see. We're still several months away since we don't have it till January, but still ultra cool.
Yeah, I had a huge smile on my face. I was going woo woo at the end. And I agree, Bruin. It was just like seeing old friends walk in the door. They're definitely back in those characters again.
All right, next item. We finally got a proper trailer for Ash versus Evil Dead, and Brent's going to talk about it.
Oh my God, we got a proper trailer, and it is awesome. If you are a fan at all of this show, of this movie series, or of Bruce Campbell, you are going to love this. It doesn't, pull any punches, dives right in. Not going to give you any spoilery detail, but you got to watch it. It's just really fun. It really is Ash and Evil Dead. And we did get a premiere date at the end of the trailer. We see that it's going to appear on Starz on October 31st, Halloween night. Very fitting.
Yeah, that is the giddiness we get around Comic-Con time. None of these 30-second or 1-minute things. In this case, 3 or 4 minutes of stuff. And as you said, it's several great-looking scenes. And what a fitting night to have it come back on Halloween. So, yeah, very, very excited now to actually see it, make this feel so real.
Yeah, that was a really meaty trailer. It looks like it's going to be a ton of fun. Bruce Campbell looks like he's having a riot in this part again, and I'm so excited for this to come back. October 31st cannot get here soon enough for this.
All right, and talking about October premiere dates, I've got a couple links in the show notes for the Walking Dead universe. First off, Walking Dead proper, I guess we'll call it, the original show. Same idea with Comic-Con. I've got a trailer, a few minutes long, as well as an announcement of the premiere date. And it's going to be a 90-minute premiere, by the way, folks. Sunday, October the 11th. Follow the link in the show notes to catch that one. And the other show, the prequel, The Fear the Walking Dead. They also have a proper trailer here, a couple of minutes worth. And the announcement of the actual date, we've been hearing August, and it's going to be August the 23rd. So for those of you big Walking Dead fans, you're just going to be able to immerse yourself very soon, and lots to watch.
Yeah, it was nice to see the familiar characters from The Walking Dead in a pretty lengthy trailer, and it's nice to know when it's coming back, though I think late October is typical for that. So that was kind of like a class reunion sort of trailer to me. Fear the Walking Dead, I've said it before, I'm not really compelled by this premise of this show. The trailer had me mildly intrigued, but it didn't really change my mind yet.
The Walking Dead trailer did what The Walking Dead trailers always do. Unfortunately, that probably means the season is going to do what the season always does. And that is the trailer makes you think, oh my God, this thing is nonstop crazy, insane action, life jeopardy situations nonstop, crazy character moments. And the series tends to not deliver that. It tends to have like 2 episodes worth out of the entire season. They're kind of like that. It's like the trailer was taken from those, like the first and last episode of the season or something. So I love the trailer. A little concerned still about how they're going to play that out. If they play it out like the trailer and they keep the pace up, I'm going to finally be back in love with Walking Dead. Although it's been an enjoyable show, I haven't been in love with it in a long time. Fear the Walking Dead is kind of the opposite, which leads me to ask some questions because the trailer shows it being very slow and plotting and character development and drama. And, scenes and moments with people, not a lot of action. And so I'm wondering, is it because there is a lot of action and the trailer is they just have no ability to create a trailer at AMC that's exactly like the show and it's always opposite? Or does it mean that the show is really going to be that way? I don't know. I'll tune in and find out.
Yeah, I've learned to be very cautious on those Walking Dead trailers as you described because we've all seen that several times. So it's like, oh, this is some cool stuff, but I won't get excited because I think I got a little extra excited last year and kicked me in the butt. So, and the Fear the Walking Dead, I really don't know. I really don't know. Didn't get all that excited, but again, it's before a lot of our shows have come back. So, this might, timing-wise, make this one worth watching. I'll be trying it, but much like Wendy said, it's not like I'm excited and can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if this were coming back in the normal fall schedule, I probably wouldn't be even trying to plan to watch it, but because it is coming back in August, I'm still considering watching the pilot, but it's really going to have to do gangbusters for me to come back for the second one.
Alrighty, next up, while we're covering some trailers for shows, Wendy's going to talk about the one for The Expanse.
Yeah, this is SciFi's next very ambitious new series. It's going to be 10 episodes, and this has new footage. We showed, it was probably 2 or 3 months back, a trailer for this show. This is the one that's set like 200 years in the future, and humans have colonized space, but there's some folks who have been living in space for a long time that are in conflict with the people who've been on Earth. It stars Thomas Jane, and I'm still intrigued by this show. I got a lot more of a BSG vibe off of this trailer than I had the previous trailer, which is a good thing.
Yeah, the trailer definitely has a very, to my mind, very epic feel to it. It has some actors in here, which you mentioned Thomas Jane, and there's some others that are very familiar to me, at least, and I was excited to see them. And it looks like some really good acting and so forth. But, you know, I'm not sure. This is one that I'm not really terribly excited about yet. I love the fact that it's space-based. I love the fact that it's going to be pretty epic, but it's going to really depend on how they pull it off. Is it going to be slow and plotting and boring, or is it going to be, you know, quickly paced and they're telling the story? That's going to determine whether or not I love it.
Yeah, I couldn't help but get a feel for what we had on Ascension, meaning it could go either way based on what's presented. So, again, this is another where the timing might be good. This is going to be airing in December when a lot of our shows, or it's going to start there in December when a lot of our shows will be on break. So, much like last year with Ascension, I am looking forward to it. It could be that nice epic one that really sucks you in, or it could be a little too political and plotting. Can't tell from the trailer. All right, next up, though, Brent's going to talk about the cool Doctor Who trailer.
Yeah, one of the great things about Comic-Con time frame is that we start getting this stuff. And the season trailer, remember they film all of Doctor Who episodes before they air the premiere, has been released. So it's got clips from the entire season. There's a lot of returning faces that are familiar, aliens that are familiar. Some new stuff in here as well, obviously, we haven't seen before. There's one very familiar face at the end. Maisie Williams, we know, is guest starring on Doctor Who, and she does appear in this trailer. I won't tell you what she says or what she looks like, but her line to the Doctor has started some serious rumor buzz and speculation frenzy on the internet, and I have participated in that myself because my curiosity is piqued by what she's saying. But this does return to the BBC, and I imagine BBC America on or around September 19th, so we got that to look forward to.
The wow factor was there. It was really nice to see. It's been a while for Doctor Who. I'm not as big a fan as some of you folks are, but this was the case where the trailer did its job, and I'm like, oh, cool. I'm really looking forward to it coming back again.
Yeah, these trailers always do their job for reminding me how excited I am to watch Doctor Who. And I agree, Brent, that Maisie Williams' appearance at the end and her line opens up a whole world of speculation about what her role might be.
Cool stuff. All right, next item, a show I enjoyed last year, From Dusk Till Dawn, has put out more of an extended trailer. They had a short one out not long ago. But the link in the show notes, along with a link to that 2-minute trailer, also has a few questions with one of the actors. They spoke here, again, just a small set of questions, really, but it's with Jesse Garcia, who plays the Texas Ranger, Freddie Gonzalez. So you got a couple questions here for him, and then what I consider to be a very meaty and very cool-looking trailer. So they're going to pick up with the creep factor and the creatures and stuff like that. So the show's back near the end of August, and it did nothing but get me even more excited to see what it looks like coming back.
Well, that's cool. I had stopped watching this, and I didn't even see the trailer. I didn't have time because we had so many other links in the show. So I'm glad you're excited about it.
Yeah, I'm glad you're excited about it too, Kevin. I still have a couple of episodes from the first season waiting to be watched, so I don't know when I'm going to get time to watch them, but it did look like a good show when I was watching it.
Yep. This might be a case, folks, if you do get the El Rey Network, we're again coming back in August. One of those shows might be worth some time if it's not up against a bunch of other shows. Alrighty, next we're going to let Wendy kind of, as we've talked about the San Diego Comic-Con stuff, touch on some info for 3 of our shows, the 100, Agent Carter, and iZombie.
Yeah, this is covering some of the returning shows. There's some teasers for the 100, which because I'm only catching up on the 100, I sort of scanned over. So I'm not even going to try to explain them because I don't know if I'd even pick something that's really relevant at this point. Agent Carter Season 2, there's some details about the big mystery that Peggy is going to be solving, and it's related to a very famous murder case in Los Angeles called the Black Dahlia. And iZombie Season 2, the showrunners teased that, everyone hates Liv, basically, after the end of Season 1. And she might be making nice with a surprising character in season 2. But I won't say any more. Just follow the links in the show notes.
This sounds interesting, the Agent Carter stuff. I'm glad they're tying in with that historical crime. That seems to be something that Hollywood is fascinated with because it happened in Los Angeles, I'm sure. And they've covered it before in some other things, but that seems like a good fit. iZombie, yeah, you can definitely tell that everybody hates to live based on how that ended. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. And for the 100, I'm cautiously optimistic about the 100 based on my reaction and my enjoyment of the last season.
Oh, well, I think I'm higher on the anticipation level, certainly for the 100. I very much enjoyed that show come season 2 and what they described here. Again, very strong teaseries. Folks, borderline spoilery, depending on your sensitivity level for any of these links once they start coming out of Comic-Con. I'm interested how they're going to pull that off. It's going to be some big move stuff there, too. The iZombie stuff also very interested because some very funny sounding notes. As you know, the show does very good with humor that it sounds like they're going to have Liv dealing with, along with some big items, as you both alluded to, for what's happened. So that show's done a great job balancing that, the very serious, but still having some fun with it. So these were all good for me. Good kind of stuff I love seeing coming out of Comic-Con.
Yeah, it was. I mean, each one of them had some meat to what's going to be coming.
And next up, Brent's going to talk about the Shannara Chronicles, which are getting a lot of buzz, at least from the people I see online.
Yeah, I knew nothing about the source material for this, and I didn't read too much about what the show was about, just the really brief summaries. But looking at this first look from MTV, I'm really impressed. I mean, the visuals are stunning. They're doing this in New Zealand as well. They're filming it there. There was really good acting bits I saw. The writers looked pretty good, or the writing looked pretty good. But, as trailers tend to do, it showed it like a pretty, fairly well-paced sort of story, but trailers tend to do that. So I don't know what's going to happen, but it looks cool. The setting is very much an after the Earth sort of thing. We see a ruined Space Needle at one point. We see a hollowed out, grounded freighter, modern ship at one point, and also what looks like either aliens, mutants, or monsters of some sorts. And what appears to be magic, but I'm going to presume that's technology that's so advanced it looks like magic. And what we get is a very much a fantasy setting, kind of a Lord of the Rings thing, but it's not in Middle Earth, it's in After Earth. So I'm looking forward to checking it out.
Yeah, I don't have any background myself either, but I know a lot of folks that do were very impressed, just like Brent described. And I got to say the same thing. Looking at it, was a very solid, professional, high-quality feel for what could be coming. So this is one of those ones where I can't say I've got anything to compare it to, but wow, it looks like we're definitely going to take it from a very well-done point of view right off the bat.
It looks very ambitious for MTV. As Brent mentioned, it does look like Tolkien, 2,000 years in the future instead of the past, maybe. I was really excited to see Manu Bennett, who I really like that actor, and John Rhys Davies is in it too. So they've got some talented actors. Definitely put a lot into the special effects. That it's in New Zealand tells me it's going to look beautiful pretty much week to week. The big question will be how it rolls out the story. I mean, I know the author, Terry Brooks, is very popular, so hoping that, hopefully they just stick to the source material and find a good rhythm.
Yeah, lots of excitement on that one, no doubt. Next item's up. I've got 3 links for the casting side of things, folks. Got some info coming for characters coming to Daredevil, Once Upon a Time, and Arrow. In case you want to be sensitive to any of those and jump ahead, this is your official warning. For Daredevil, we got casting this week for a very recognizable name in that universe, none other than Elektra. And it's being played by Elodie Young, if I'm pronouncing it right. Character that you may have seen in some other movies, like actress you may have seen in movies like The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo or District 13, and a few other things there. So that was quite interesting to see. Also on Once Upon a Time, a couple of very recognizable characters you folks might be looking forward to seeing. They cast the role of Merlin with the British actor, it looks like, Elliot Knight, coming in there, and also Guinevere coming in with Johanna Metros. Landing that role. So that could be quite interesting there. And finally, a character that was teased in the latest season of Arrow, coming next season for Arrow Season 4, is going to be Damian Dark. And they've got very recognizable face. I suspect many of you, as soon as you see him, have seen him in many shows over the years. Neal Mcdonough, certainly several movies and TV shows. So these were some pretty big character moves, I got to say, for these shows.
Yeah, for me, the one that was definitely most exciting was the Neal Mcdonough. I mean, they're just doing a bang-up job with casting in the DC shows on the CW. So I'm very excited about that. You know, they've been dropping Damian Dark, I think, all the way since season 2. So I'm glad that he's going to finally show up. Once Upon a Time, I don't know those actors. I can't really say that I'm all that excited about the Arthurian legend stuff, but hopefully they'll surprise me. And Daredevil, we had talked about this maybe we just talked about it online, maybe not on the show, because they do name drop Elektra in season 1. But I gotta tell you, I was expecting someone to look a lot more Greek. Not complaining about the casting, but I was just surprised when I saw the actress.
Yeah, I kind of like the casting. I'm glad that Elektra's back, and they did talk about Elektra being very exotic and not really knowing where she's from. And when you look at this actor, she looks a little Asian. She was born in France. She was trained in London. So I could see her being kind of international with an accent you couldn't quite place, and you don't know where she's from. So I think she kind of fits. And if you go up to her IMDb page, too, there's some great photos of her on another production where, you know, she's all in red and blindfolded and carrying a katana, and I could see her being Elektra.
Yeah, definitely some cool stuff there. Very much so. And knowing how well they do Daredevil, I'm seeing lots of great possibilities. All right, next item for you. Wendy's going to talk a little bit about some great info having to do with the Penny Dreadful finale.
Yeah, following the finale, there's an interview with the showrunner, John Logan, talking about what's coming, and also obviously talking about the finale of season 2. He does drop some hints about what's coming next season, as well as characters and, sort of why he put everyone where he did at the end of season 2. I'm not going to say any more to avoid spoilers, but there's a lot of questions that get raised after reading this.
Ooh, I haven't read this one yet, and we talked quite a bit about that online on our forum about where characters are going to be. So now I'm wondering if I should go read it.
Yeah, and this showrunner, I believe he also wrote every episode as well, if I'm not mistaken. So he really, talk about deep in on all sides of it. He's got a full control over what's going to happen next. I only got a chance to skim it, and I do have it in the to be read later thing, because I'm very curious, since they did kind of leave us, again, without getting spoilery, with a lot to wonder.
Well, he does sort of tease some things. They asked very direct questions. I was surprised he answered so directly where things are headed. And if you're wondering where things are headed, I would definitely suggest reading this.
Contest clip time. In your contest entry, tell us what Kimmy Schmidt says she's eating for dinner.
I just want to be a normal person. I'm having candy for dinner.
Alrighty, moving next, we got a show not coming till 2016, but we're very excited. Brent's going to talk a little bit about Legends of Tomorrow.
This link to an interview with an actor from Legends of Tomorrow might be spoilery for some, but I will point out that it's an interview with Katie Lotz. We've talked many times about how she was cast for the show. We all speculated for the longest time about what role she'd be playing, and that's where the spoilers might come in. If you want to go into the show not knowing what she's doing or how she's got that role or anything like that, probably want to skip the interview. But if you're curious, she does talk about the role she plays, how she ends up in the role and so forth. And she does ask, or she has asked, pretty much all of the questions that we as fans have been asking all along about her casting in this show. And it's a really good read because there's a lot of really good answers in here.
And I read it and really enjoyed it. But again, you do have to be, as Brent said, comfortable learning a lot more about some answers that have been dangling for those of us who are wondering. So you consider that spoilery in that sense because it's filling in a lot of that. But it's also great to know kind of where that's setting up because, Legends of Tomorrow, I'm just getting more and more excited about every time I see more about it.
Well, to me, she just put a little more details around things we actually saw in that original trailer and have been guessing, explain what we saw in the trailer. And I think she cleared them up pretty well. And I'm also guessing that by the time the panel comes out for this show, there'll be even more details than was in this interview.
Yeah, that's the thing with Comic-Con week. We got a lot more coming on all these topics, I suspect. Next time I wanted to tell you about, folks, something for those of you who've been listeners of my Sad to Be Movie Reel podcast, you'll know that probably a year and a half ago, I covered a film called The Machine that also starred Katie Lotz that we were just talking about. Lower budget film, I thought, very smart film having to do with artificial intelligence. And it was announced this week that SciFi is looking to adapt the concepts of that movie into a TV series. So what they basically said in their description is they're taking a broad view of cutting-edge scientific breakthroughs in genetic engineering and artificial intelligence. So not saying it's going to copy the movie's plotline exactly, only that maybe they're using that as inspiration potentially for where they're going. So it's still a little early to know on that. But again, I think there's some good possibilities based on what I saw on screen for the film.
Well, that's interesting, especially given Humans on AMC, which this kind of rang a bell with me about that. So that's kind of cool that they're going to try to experiment. I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know how well it might translate into a series.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to catch this movie, I think, well before Kevin was able to talk about it on the SBMR, but it was an awesome movie. I just loved it. It was a bit slow-paced, as movies tend to be, and I have no problem with that with a movie. Because it's a very self-contained story. It's 2 hours of time. You know what you're getting. So I don't mind that it kind of slowly built up to some pretty good action and some really good storytelling. But this movie ended in a place where you could see a series being kicked off. So if they kind of recap what happened, the events in the movie, and then kind of go into that after the movie sort of storyline, I think it would be pretty good. My only concern is Katie Lotz, because she really made that character. I mean, I'm sure that there's some other actor out there who can do as good a job, and I'm sure she's probably already booked with the Legends of Tomorrow, so she's probably not going to be in this series. But man, I really wish she could. And I was checking the comments underneath this article, and every single one of them was pretty much, I sure hope Katie Lotz can play the Machine again.
Yeah, that's going to be the tough spot because, for a story like that and for an actress who did a great job, that's where it was so fun, coming into this one after having seen her only a little bit in Arrow at that point in time. She did totally own it, and you made her, you believed it. So it pivots very heavily on who is going to be playing that lead. And our final news item for you this week, we're going to let Wendy talk about moving over into the animated world for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Disney XD channel is going to be airing an animated adaptation of Guardians of the Galaxy. It's going to actually premiere late September 26th, but in the run-up to that, all through August, starting August 1st, and then every week after that, they're going to be airing these little short premieres of sort of sneak peek items. There are about 2 minutes of short material each week. And they even have names. So they're listed in the link in the show notes. And there's also a picture for, the artwork, so you can see what sort of the style is going to look like of the show, which looks pretty cool. And I love the tagline, "We're back, you're welcome." I thought was great. So this looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, Disney XD has been the home of Marvel Animated for a while. They have Spider-Man, the Hulk, and Avengers there, for instance. And I used to watch regularly all three of those shows that were there, and even quick review them on this program, on this podcast, but kind of drifted away because the animation or the writing style of these shows, it's Disney XD, and while a lot of animated comic stories like what DC has done with, or did do, with Young Justice and with Green Lantern, it appeals to kids, but also has a mature element to it, so it appeals to adults. The Marvel stuff so far, very childish, very young person, a lot of, bathroom humor, I guess would be the way to describe it. I don't know, but it doesn't, and wow, I like that stuff. It just doesn't really appeal to me as an adult very much. It's very kid-like. It's not very serious. There's no drama in it. So I'm hoping maybe they can change the formula a little bit with Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm guessing not. I will check it out, though, just to see.
Well, that's good. Hope folks are enjoying it once they get a chance to see whether or not it fulfills, as you said, something to be for some adults to enjoy or if that's their target.
Yeah, sadly, even DC went away from the stuff that appealed to adults, too, because I know I tried to watch, I think it's Teen Titans Go, or whatever was the thing that came on after Justice League had ended, Young Justice had ended, and I just couldn't take the humor. It was too immature.
Alrighty. Well, finish things out here in the water cooler. We've got a Tuner Minute this week, one that I recorded, and it's entitled, Why Not Rewatch Instead? It is truly a wonderful time to be a genre TV fan. You know, we've talked about this many, many times on the podcast. There's so many great shows that are now on, and they're on all year long, and we have such easy access to them between DVRs and access on mobile platforms and streaming services, phones, tablets, everything else. We can get at shows almost anywhere. And it doesn't cost us a lot more money to do it. So I'm wondering, we all have certain shows that are, shall we say, lower on our priority list. We probably watch them when we're multitasking, doing the dishes or doing some other work. Or maybe it's only on the phone out of the corner of your eye while you're doing that other item. But I'm wondering, why do those lower level shows that likely never become higher level shows, why do you continue to watch them? Why don't you maybe give up on a couple and instead choose to rewatch a series you loved, or maybe get into some other genre movies or such? In other words, why do you keep up on those ones that you know you're probably never going to love, and you just have a feeling you need to keep watching it? So I'm wondering, do you have some of those, and why are you still watching them?
Well, this is an interesting question, because I would put maybe The Whispers and Wayward Pines in this category as shows I'm currently watching. And I guess there must be some magical threshold of when a show goes too far. But neither one of those shows has gotten there yet. And I'm still intrigued enough by where the storyline is going in those shows that I keep watching despite their weaknesses. So I'm not coming up with a good answer, because to me that it isn't a choice of, do I want to watch Wayward Pines or do I want to rewatch, season 1 of Game of Thrones? That isn't sort of the math I'm doing in my head when I think about rewatching stuff. Usually I want to rewatch something because I'm thinking about that show in particular, and I want to watch it for a reason. It isn't just, there's nothing on, let's watch, whatever. For me anyway. So I'm going to be curious how others answer this and approach this, because when it comes to rewatching, it really depends on how much time I have. Because even though, I love Farscape, I have to decide that I'm going to make a huge time commitment to rewatch that much of a show because it had so many episodes, versus rewatching, a season, or even doing the catch up that I'm doing right now on the 100.
Yeah, this is one where I think the answers from our listeners are going to be a lot more interesting than the answers from us, because, as we've said many times, we're colored by the fact that we are doing this podcast, and we tend to watch things well beyond their expiration date, normally, that we would do it if we were just fans of the genre. Now, that said, I did kind of set Beauty and the Beast aside because I kind of got tired of it and figured I'd just watch it later, and I think I stopped The Whispers dead cold after the first couple of episodes. And, there's a lot of shows still on the list that I probably would drop. I mean, I'm looking down the list here, and, I'd probably, if I was just a fan of the genre and didn't have a podcast to do, I'd probably drop Proof. I may very well end up dropping Scream or Stitchers, but both have actors that I really like in them. But all three of those shows are kind of flat for me. They're not that exciting. Extant, same sort of thing. Probably end up dropping that if I wasn't doing this podcast, but I'm probably going to stick with it because I am doing the podcast. But, it's hard for me to say. I'm just really curious what the listeners are going to say, because I remember when I wasn't doing the podcast, I would drop things. I wouldn't even start things, and I would drop things cold if they just didn't appeal to me in the first episode.
Yeah, I mean, and then that's an excellent point based on the three of us, and that's why I am very curious to hear from you folks, the listeners, for the most part, if there's some way you approach it, as Wendy kind of said too, when it comes to looking at the math of things. When I say a rewatch, I mean, we can all pick certain shows we absolutely love, but some of the better ones tend to be multiples, 60, 80, 100 some odd episodes. And that's a big nut to decide to do, because we don't like to start and give up. So, maybe there's other shows that you like that were short-lived, or maybe, as Wendy said, a Game of Thrones, or a show you currently do love that's on, and maybe you just want to refresh a season. That's just, I have a hard time trying to find where that line is. They have shows like The 100 that I was only kind of watching, and I was definitely doing the half paying attention for a while, and then it did get good. So sometimes those ones that are only meh a few will turn, but not all of them. Many of them have just petered out. And you mentioned a few, Brent, for you, and there's certainly a couple for me the same way. If we weren't podcasting about them, I would be rewatching Legend of the Seeker or some other show I greatly loved. So I'm wondering for those folks who maybe don't have quite as much of a feel of a commitment to the lower level of their list, what's keeping a new show on maybe more so than one you've already seen? Is there still that hope that it's just going to turn on a dime and get really good, or do you just want to make sure you're supporting the genre? So looking forward to some feedback on that one, folks. Please let us know. Always great to get, be it voicemail or on the forums or email. Many of you take the time to do that, and we appreciate it. All righty then, lots covered there, but we've still got some great discussions coming up in our spoiler-filled back porch for some shows from this week.
Today we talk about Penny Dreadful and Defiance.
Up first in the back porch, we're going to let Wendy start our discussion about the Season 2 finale for Penny Dreadful.
Yes, this was quite the ending to a crazy ride this season. We got the big showdown inside Madame Colley's house with Vanessa going toe-to-toe with her Verbis Diablo language against the devil who's inside this ventriloquist doll that was really creepy and could have been really hokey, so well done, show. And at the same time, we have Sir Malcolm and Frankenstein in this room in which they're having these crazy hallucinations about what all their loved ones think of them in terms of being very bad daddies. And they're both getting confronted by all the things that they've done to their family members. It was nice to see the return of the second creation, Proteus, in particular, talking to Frankenstein. But both of them are sort of on the edge of suicide when Vanessa is able to literally break the doll open. And also, Ethan, sadly, is locked up in the spiral staircase with Simbene and turns and actually killed him. We also had Mr. Lyle sort of enthralled by one of the nightcomers. But once Vanessa breaks the spell, their powers seem to fade, because I was very surprised at how easily Malcolm and the others could shoot the walkers. I didn't really remember that the nightcomers could be killed so easily by bullets. But the big thing, though, was Ethan gets let out by Hecate, and he immediately walks into the room and rips out the throat of Evelyn. So she's dead, and he's walking straight at Vanessa and then looks at her and seems to recognize who she is, and he leaves. And Hecate manages to escape, and everybody else, like I said, they get rid of the other nightcomers. And Hecate seems to take her mother's grimoire, or whatever the book is that she's got in that the room that used to have the dolls in it, and sets it on fire and leaves. So I'm assuming we're still going to see more of Hecate, especially because she was trying to tempt Ethan over to her side a couple episodes back. So the resolve of the big bad happens probably in the first third of the episode, and then we get all of this setup for what's coming next. Ethan is completely racked with guilt over killing their friend, and Vanessa, who now knows what he is like, look, we can try to figure out together how to be these monsters. And instead, he turns himself into the inspector, I think hoping he would be quickly killed immediately. And instead, he's going to be extradited back to the U.S., so he ends up on a boat going back to the U.S. Vanessa is completely alone. Malcolm is taking Simbene's body back to Africa. She has a great scene where she sees Mr. Clare, who I was completely surprised easily escapes from the cell that he was captured in by the folks who wanted to turn him into a freak show at the waxworks. And he rips open the door like he's flatting a fly, which was pretty cool. And he goes full-on monster on the father and mother. And then the horrible blind girl comes in, and instead of killing her, he, leaves her with these bodies and the horror of that. So he decides that he's got to get away from humanity. I was a little bit surprised that Vanessa didn't decide to go with him. She thinks she's even so bad she can't go with a monster to, the North Pole. So she's in a bad state. Then we also have Frankenstein going to look for Lily, showing up at Dorian's house and finding them. They were all dressed in white in these beautiful outfits, and they looked to me as if they were, quote, married to each other. Dorian shoots them both and is amazed that nothing happens, to Dorian in particular. And Lily is really taunting him about, their master plan is they're going to take over, the monsters are going to take over. And it was a really interesting scene of them dancing around with this blood coming across their white outfits. It was really creepy and foreboding about what's coming, especially because that was the same place, the same room where they had that bloodbath in the ballroom, that vision that Vanessa had, which made me immediately think back to that. But they finished out in a really interesting way because Vanessa seems to have vanquished the devil, but when all the spiders, or not spiders, scorpions, came out of the doll, one of them went back into her hand, and it makes me wonder, how evil is she going to be? Is she going to be a monster? What is she going to be like next season, as well as these other characters? And how do we get them all in the same place again now that we had these voyages? So I'm curious if there's going to be a little time jump, or how the story is all going to come back together, assuming that at least one of the big bads that they need to fight next season will be Dorian and Lily.
This was a great finale. As you said, it was really cool that they kind of resolved the dire situation everybody was in pretty quickly, and then moved on to where does everybody go from here. I love that, not leaving us with a cliffhanger. In fact, after last week's episode, I mistakenly thought it might have been the season finale because it kind of ended with that cliffhanger. I'm like, oh, that's exactly where they would end the finale. Vanessa's dream of heaven. I love that, when the devil was tempting her, and her dream was being with Ethan, having children, living the life, the suburban life or whatever, which was that was her vision of pure happiness, and that plays in, of course, when Ethan comes in werewolf form, and they look at each other, and that realization that he stops because he knows or feels who she is, and doesn't want to. I don't think it was a case of being scared of her. I think it was more a case of realizing that this is somebody that he loves, and he couldn't do anything to her. I love Vanessa that yelling back at the doll, with the devil in there yelling back and forth in the language, and I love her line at some point near the end when she crushes it. She says something like, "No, you're a master," and she crushes the doll, and I thought that was just great. And of course, the older witch, the mother, losing her gift from the devil and just aging rapidly and collapsing and upset and screaming and all of that. And you're right, I was a little surprised that the two other witches, whatever you want to call them, the ones who, the nude ones with the scarred bodies, being shot so quickly and dispatched so easily. But it was cool and interesting to see the daughter, who seems to have always been rebelling against her mother and so forth, to not only grab that, but burn the house down as she's leaving. So pretty interesting stuff. I loved Mr. Clare's breakout. I didn't actually see that coming. I think last week I speculated it might have been Lily who heard that he was captured and would come over and save him. But I think while Lily feels for Claire and feels that he's like her in that regard, that they were both made, she seems to be done with him. But the breakout was pretty cool because you could just sense it, seeing in there, he is a monster. He's very strong. He is Frankenstein's monster from all the stories. He's very strong. he was just sitting in that cell, kind of in a pool of sorrow and pity, and then when it finally became clear that, okay, well, I guess it's time to act, he just breaks open the cell door and just kills both of them. Leaving the blind daughter alone, I first thought he would go kill her, but then I thought, yeah, he won't, especially, and maybe she even made him make that choice with her, first calling out, seeming to be innocent again, and then saying, I hope you, saying some really nasty stuff to him right before he decided to just leave. And then, of course, he's walking down the street, we hear her screaming because she's discovered her dead parents, or dead bodies, and then she's assuming her dead parents, I guess. Victor confronting Lillian Dorian, yeah, that was interesting. I like how when he shot both of them, they seemed to almost not notice. And I like her line of something like, "You made me much better than that," or something of that nature. And that dancing in the blood, the blood continuing to roll down behind their backs as they were talking to Victor was pretty interesting. And then very creepy, of course, as she's lifting her dress and part of it's hitting the ground, just kind of smearing blood everywhere as they dance. And my first thought was practical, which is if that stuff is actually on the ground as they're filming and it's not CGI, I hope the actors don't turn around and have to dance back through it, because they're probably going to slip and fall. And yeah, it was interesting that Ethan decided he couldn't be with Vanessa and decided to turn himself over, hoping that he would die. And of course, the whole extradition thing's coming about. Vanessa meeting with Claire, I love that scene because I love what she said told him that he was the most human man she'd ever met, and that just brought him to tears. And he just started crying and sobbing as she went away. And then Vanessa, the very sad bit where she's turning off all the lamps and closing down the house and is left in the room upstairs with the fire in the fireplace and lighting her and looking out the window. So it was a very cool ending to the show, and it could have been a series ending, but obviously we know that there's more, so I'm really looking forward to where they go.
Yeah, for me, this was very much showing how well they do gothic horror. And to me, a good part of that is the bits that are in your head. As you know, both of them were seeing their offspring and getting both of them to the point of almost killing themselves. Again, just that type of horror, that type of mental anguish they're going through, being created there by the witch's ability to do that, is very creepy. And then the visuals, as we both talked about the entire scene with Dorian Gray and Lily, and the blood and the fact that bullets don't hurt them and they're going to take over the world and that kind of gothic horror. I thought they did that, the two different parts of that, very, very well, very, very creepy. And I really liked, as you mentioned, Wendy, that we basically, quote, wrapped up the story part of this season pretty quickly. So we had enough time to do all the other bits of where the characters went, the disappointment for Vanessa and wondering what's going to happen to each of them as they go off in their different directions going forward. So it's very sad. Again, the gothic horror side of it, of a little depressing, appreciating well done, and also a little interested in, okay, what does that mean? If we'd wrapped it up like a lot of shows in the last few minutes with killing the bad guy and just left it dangling, I'm not as interested as I am now, knowing that they're all literally in different parts of the globe, probably. And what that might mean, not having read the article we talked about earlier in the podcast with the showrunner. So they did a very good job of just leaving me dangling.
Yeah, and Brent, you mentioned how, Vanessa at the very end, I just felt so bad for her because we saw that dream, and I mean, it was an incredible transformation. They did a great job with how her dream world was all white and sparkly and pure, and she was so happy. I think she smiled through the entire scene, which you never see Vanessa do. Sometimes she'll sort of smirk or something, but she doesn't full-on smile. Or whenever she does, something horrible happens next. I'm thinking of the episode where they were at the Cutwife's house, and she and Ethan are dancing, and she smiles, and then that's when the storm and the lightning hits the house and everything goes sideways. But she not only is alone, but she burned her cross. So she's sort of angry at God, or turned her back on God as well. So they've really literally set three characters at sea, but everyone's at sea. Frankenstein's got the rug pulled completely out from under him and gone off to a drug haze stupor. And then we have Vanessa. So it was really sad. I was honestly thinking that when she went to talk to him when he was in her bedroom, Ethan was there, and she said, well, we can just, we'll just spend one night together. And I was like, okay, they're going to have one night together and then he's going to leave. And it's like, they didn't even get that. So, they're doing a great job of making me want more for that character. And it's very bittersweet.
Speaking of Victor, what do you make of that final scene with the taking the drugs? I seem to recall that he was taking multiple doses. So was he trying to kill himself? Or was he just trying to escape like he's done before with the drugs? It looked to me like almost a suicide attempt.
I don't know. I mean, I think he could have been suicidal or accidentally suicidal. I mean, he truly seemed to be knocked sideways and scared by what he had seen in Dorian's house. So he could have been suicidal.
Yeah, I just thought based on what the poor guy had seen and he thought he had Lily to go back to after all of this, and realized he didn't. So, yeah, I just saw him as just using the drugs totally to escape, but it could turn into that he could be in a coma or some worse state, certainly, based on how much he took.
Now, online, everyone had been speculating, where's the story going to go? And in that interview with the showrunner, he talks a lot about, and they mentioned, even in Vanessa's dream, she mentioned that the Harkers were coming to tea. And the showrunner mentioned that the devil's half-brother is Dracula. So I'm guessing that next season we're going to come back to Dracula as part of the story, besides the Dorian and Lily stuff. But I don't know where or how it comes in.
Could be awful cool. All right, well, next up, we're going to move over and talk about the recent episode of Defiance. I'm going to lead us there. This is episode number 6 of the 3rd season, Where the Apples Fell. And we are staying at our breakneck pace, I think, at least. I know I've seen some folks talking about Defiance, how it's been a little slow-moving, and I'm like, are you watching the same show I am? While it may not be action movement, it certainly is character movement, a great deal. After getting to know these characters the first couple of seasons. I love that we picked up right where we left off the last episode where, Alak had gotten away and came into his own home and literally had a knife to his mother's throat for what happened to Christy. And very appropriately, he gets the you-know-what kicked out of him by both his mother and by Daytak. So, that family dynamic between the three of them is just pretty amazing to always watch. So I really thought that was well done. It was very truthful from each character's point of view. Alak was upset about Christy. His mother reminded him how she embraced her in the first place, that he even, took her in as his wife and the baby and everything else. So I thought that was very good. And naturally, with all of that crap going on, Nolan gets called and comes in to say, hey, what's going on? And, after a couple of seasons, we're thinking they're going to do the usual. They're going to claim, just family discussions. We're going to all work it out and you can go away. But Alak doesn't back off, man. He just tells them right then and there, yep, my parents blew up the arch. And, the running is on as the two of them try to get away. They're now fugitives, terrorists, and we're going to spend a good part of the episode trying to hunt the two of them down. So no punches pulled from a story point of view. It's certainly, for me, I love that they're willing to do that. And we now have to wonder what's going to happen to these characters quite a bit. So that was good. That was really good to see. The two of them on the run was interesting. Going to see the doc to try to get some help, or Daytak does. Makes sense with their past, having done that a bit. That was pretty interesting. When Daytak had to kind of come running out to save Stahma from getting taken by Nolan and Berlin and all, who were kind of converging on him. He ends up in the cell, and I love that Nolan and Alak kind of pulled something on him by Nolan looking like he's going to go over the edge and actually shoot to kill him just to get his dad to own up to exactly what he does or doesn't know. I liked that a lot. That was pretty cool. And add that into the fact that our general there, our really crazy guy out there, had his wife show up, and she, trying to tell him that, hey, he's kind of gone off the reservation from the point of view of the VC and what they were going to do, and he's on his own, and he really should back off, and blah, blah. And showing just how far out there he is. He ends up killing her, and then throws her body in the middle of the camp to tell him that the humans had sent her to try to undermine everything. So he's really going way off. So we know that's going to create quite the conflict. And couldn't finish up without talking about the showdown between Amanda and Stahma. When she shows up there, and the two of them, are in no love loss in terms of what's going on at that point. And Amanda literally tries or wants to try to kill Stahma. And you think Stahma does as well, but Stahma gets the upper hand, but chooses not to kill her. And but that wasn't without Stahma having a knife in her side and stumbling away and eventually going off to the OMAC. Probably the only other ally she could get away with going to see, because she looked pretty serious. Not that Amanda was in good shape, knocked out, but Stahma could have killed her and didn't. So it led to some good discussions about what that meant for her not doing it. So I thought all around a really, really good episode.
I'm surprised that anyone's saying it's not moving very fast, because to me it is. Normally Stahma and Daytak wouldn't have been outed as behind the bombing this early in the season, in maybe season 1 or season 2. This season was also notable for me because I actually liked Alak, and I don't like that character in general. I don't find him interesting, but I really liked when he was working with Nolan. They did a great job when Daytak has sacrificed himself. He's on the truck with Doc Ewell, and then he sees Stahma, and he decides to be the diversion so that Stahma might be able to get out of town. So he gets captured, and when Nolan is pretending that he's going to shoot Alak, and it turns out the two of them, they're playing good cop, bad cop together. And I thought it was fantastic when Daytak is sort of laughing and applauding how well they played him. I thought that was funny. But also very well played by the actor too. And the thing that is interesting about those characters is the length they'll go for their family. The Ramtar, I think is his name, or Ramtak. That was interesting too, because we saw this other side of the character where, he really sort of seemed to care about his wife, and he also seems to be a little bit off the meds in terms of his personality swings. The other thing that almost felt like it was thrown in for comic relief, but then we got this was when Nolan and Alak go to visit the Olmecs, and Alak can smell that Stahma's been there, and the Olmec father is saying, yes, I had a lot of sex with your mother. And the daughter gets really upset, and it turns out that he and his daughter are in this incestuous relationship, which I guess is normal amongst Olmecs, but it was very I was really not liking that too much. And then Kevin, you mentioned that really awesome showdown between Amanda and Stahma. Stahma is really thinking sort of out of the box when she gets this idea that she's going to kidnap Amanda to get through the stasis nets and get out of town, and then she'll release her. And Amanda is like, are you insane? There's no way I'm helping you. And it was really nice because the whole problem of her killing her sister comes back again, that huge rift. And then but Amanda actually gets stabbed. Amanda stabs Stahma, excuse me. And as a result, Stahma shows up at the Olmec house, which is not going to be good news. So I really liked a lot of the stuff that happened here. And I'm very curious how they're going to keep Stahma and Daytak in the mix. They're now confessed known terrorists. And lastly, I'm sure Brent will talk about this a little bit too, was Arissa babysitting the baby. That was really nice to see.
Yeah, I'll have to add my voice to the two of you and say I don't know what these people are talking about. If they think the show is going slowly, it's almost as if it's a brand new show when you compare it against the first two seasons, and how the first two seasons were okay. I like the pacing, but there were some slow bits in there too, and I haven't seen it so far. The showrunner promised that the season 3 would definitely be kind of a breaking Defiance apart and going more outside of Defiance, more international, if you will. And they seem to be going that way. They're breaking it apart. They blew up the Arch. It's a very symbolic breaking apart. A lot of people have left. The Macaulays are now all dead. and Datak and Stahma are on the run, and Datak's in prison, but they are terrorists. So they're breaking it apart. They're not staying in this tight little knit community of Defiance like they did in the first season, for sure. Yeah, it was funny. You're right, Wendy, to see Orissa as the babysitter. There wasn't much for her to do this episode, and that's fine. I mean, she is one of my favorite characters, her and Nolan together especially, but it was still okay, the way they handled this, because there was so much other good stuff in this episode that didn't bother me too much. And it was kind of cute to see her taking care of the baby and how much she seems to really be attached to the baby. I mean, even we saw that a couple of episodes ago. But she did let slip that they were the ones who rescued the baby to Alak, and he then went back and was able to thank Nolan for that as well. I think there's a bit of a plot hole. I don't know. Datak was very willing to kill his son when he was fighting him as his son was trying to kill Stahma. And Stahma had to scream to stop him from doing it. But then Nolan, threatens to kill him, and he's literally begging Nolan not to do it. So, I don't know, maybe it's because, in the heat of the moment, he was willing to go that far, but, seeing somebody else do it, he doesn't want to do it. Maybe that's the deal. But to me, it just seemed a little different. And why Stahma didn't kill Amanda, I think we've kind of talked about this or hinted at it, but I think it's really, frankly, that guilt over Kenya. She really did love Kenya. I believe that, and hated the fact that she had to kill her, and doesn't want to kill Amanda as well. I mean, it kind of, not because she likes Amanda, but because she's thinking of Kenya, and she doesn't want to do it for Kenya's memory. So I imagine that's why she didn't actually kill her, even though she could have easily killed her at that point. Like I said, the entire Macaulay family's been wiped out, except for the baby, of course, because the baby carries some Macaulay genes, I guess. But when we talked about how this season is so different because they're killing people, which they've never really done that well before. I wouldn't be surprised if there's more characters, more top characters, more characters we've grown to know the whole series, or at least for a long time, who are going to be off before the end of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Datak goes. Now, I love the actor, I love the character, but I love the Macaulays too, and they're gone. Berlin, maybe. She's fairly new and doesn't have a lot to do yet. Tommy was killed last season. Maybe Berlin's next. I don't know. It better not be Orissa or Nolan. But yeah, you're right, Wendy. The Almanac have been set up as the culture that does everything that's taboo in society. They've cannibalism and now apparently just completely open sex to the point of complete open incest with everybody in their family, which is very interesting. I was thinking to myself, well, they're trying to, with all the killing and with all of this stuff, they're trying to outdo Game of Thrones, and I don't know that they're doing that, but that seems to be kind of a secondary note of the kind of craziness in this season of Defiance. And no, slow. I don't get that at all, Kevin.
Yeah, I'm not saying I did. I just saw it in some of their discussions or whatever, and hey, we all know I'm the one who tends to sometimes get oversensitive to slow-moving, even good shows, but I do not see it at all here. I'm just very surprised. Those folks, again, must not be watching the same show, as we often say about things that we are. Because, yeah, and it's an appreciation, as you said, after having seen what happened in the first couple of seasons, getting to know the characters, the fact that they're moving and not following those same things. Like, I was most surprised that Alak didn't just fall in line when Nolan was there. Like, no, yeah, I'll be just happy to see my parents, and we're going to work it out behind the scenes. The fact that he completely outed them, I was like, wow, I did not expect that. So kudos, and as you said, I think almost every character is in jeopardy now because they are, from a story point of view, willing to let some of the key ones go. So that makes for a very, tension build watching, which is great. That's what we'd love. It's not, we can't automatically guess what's going to happen and know that we're on the same page. So got to give them credit. Got to give them a lot of credit.
One of the things that they've been hitting really hard this season is, Orissa's guilt over being a killer and Nolan being a bad dad. And I thought they used the moments when they were talking to Alak, who is also sort of in a family with a bad mom and dad, really well to sort of revisit those. I've liked the little conversation that Nolan had with him in the bar. And Alak is talking about how he's a failure. Nolan's like, well, not from where I'm sitting, you're not a failure. And then when Orissa is babysitting the baby, Alak thanks her for saving the baby. And it's like one of the first times anyone sort of thanked her for anything other than killing somebody. So I thought that was it was a nice moment. I think it was important that it was there, even though she didn't have a lot of action in this episode. We also found out that the Omex are stuck, or Nolan figured out that the Omex are stuck and they need all this power to get back into orbit. So he finally has a bargaining chip with those guys.
Good stuff. All right, well, I think we're going to have to get out of here. We've kind of run out of time with so much to cover, but as you can imagine, we still have several shows and several news items to cover later in the week, so look for that show in a few days' time. But it's been great talking to Brent and Wendy. I always appreciate them taking the time, and cool that you folks are listening in on this. It makes for great fun for all of us, so we appreciate you doing it, folks. We hope you all take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Catch you next time.
We love to get your feedback. Call us at 206-202-4182 or leave us a Skype voicemail to our Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV name. We have many ways to keep the discussion going on our blog. Drop by tuningintoscifitv.com and leave a comment. On the blog, you'll also find links to the forum discussions and other links to follow our Twitter and RSS feeds and find our Facebook account.
Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV was hosted by Kevin Batchelder, Wendy Hembrock, and Brent Barrett. The theme music for Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV is by Beatnik Turtle. Used with permission. Listen to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV on Stitcher Radio on Demand. Download the free app today at Stitcher.com. You've been listening to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, episode 344, recorded July 11th, 2015.